The necklace caught her eye long before she noticed the man wearing it. For a brief second, the bustling charity event disappeared around her. The cheerful laughter of children, the applause echoing across the park, the colorful tents standing beneath the bright afternoon sky, all of it faded into silence as Billionaire CEO Seraphine Voss stared at the weathered silver pendant resting against the chest of a complete stranger. It wasn't merely similar to the necklace she remembered. It was identical, down to the tiny scratch near the clasp that had appeared during a family hiking trip years before. That necklace had belonged to her late husband, Rowan, the man whose body had never truly answered all the questions surrounding his mysterious death. She had buried her grief 5 years earlier, believing some mysteries would remain buried forever. Yet there it was, hanging around the neck of a modestly dressed single father serving meals to homeless families under the warm afternoon sun. The sight made her heart pound with equal parts hope and fear. She had spent years convincing herself to move forward, to bury the pain beneath endless work, billion-dollar meetings, and charitable foundations. But a single silver pendant threatened to tear open every wound she had carefully stitched closed. As the story begins, thank you for spending your time here. Stories like this remind us that compassion, forgiveness, and unexpected connections can change lives in remarkable ways. The man wearing the necklace was named Merrick Hale, a quiet carpenter who had become well known in his neighborhood for repairing broken furniture free of charge for struggling families. Every weekend, instead of taking extra jobs, he volunteered at community kitchens with his 8-year-old daughter, Noah, whose bright smile often became the happiest part of everyone's day. Merrick had not chosen this life. Years earlier, a devastating illness had taken his wife only weeks after Noah's birth, leaving him to learn parenthood through sleepless nights, unpaid bills, and overwhelming loneliness. He had little money, but he never allowed bitterness to define him. Seraphine approached him cautiously after the event had slowed. She found herself unable to look away from the necklace. Every memory came rushing back, Rowan fastening it around his neck before business trips, absent-mindedly touching the pendant while thinking, laughing whenever she teased him about never taking it off. The pendant had been custom-made. Only one existed. When she politely asked where he had found it, Marek's face revealed genuine surprise rather than guilt. He explained that he had owned it for nearly 12 years. It had been given to him by an elderly fisherman after Marek had rescued him during a violent flood in a coastal town. The old man had insisted the necklace belonged to someone who deserved another chance in life. Marek had accepted it only because refusing would have deeply hurt the grateful stranger. Seraphine listened carefully. The timeline immediately made no sense. Her husband had supposedly died only 5 years earlier. How could Marek have possessed the necklace 7 years before Rowan's reported death? The contradiction unsettled her more than anything else. Instead of accusing Marek, Seraphine quietly asked if he would allow her to photograph the pendant. He agreed without hesitation. His openness only deepened the mystery. Someone hiding a crime would have refused immediately. That evening, Seraphine reopened boxes she had not touched in years. Inside rested photographs, insurance records, investigation reports, travel itineraries, and letters connected to Rowan's disappearance. The official report had concluded that his private plane had crashed over the ocean during a violent storm. Debris had been recovered. His body had never been found. Authorities had eventually declared him legally deceased, but now every document seemed strangely incomplete. Something had always bothered her. The investigation had ended unusually quickly. Several witnesses had changed their statements. Certain financial transactions before Rowan's disappearance had never been fully explained. For the first time in years, Seraphine allowed herself to believe she had accepted answers simply because grieving had exhausted her. The next afternoon, beneath another bright summer sky, she visited Marek's modest home on the edge of town. The little house reflected its owner perfectly. Flowers bloomed in handmade wooden boxes beneath every window. Children's bicycles rested neatly beside a carefully repaired fence. Wind chimes created soft music whenever the warm breeze passed through. Noah greeted Seraphine with remarkable politeness before returning to paint birdhouses with colorful brushes. Watching the little girl laugh while splashing bright paint across unfinished wood reminded Seraphine of dreams she and Rowan had once shared about raising children. Inside the workshop, Marek explained every detail he remembered about receiving the necklace, the fisherman had repeatedly spoken about surviving a shipwreck decades earlier that he had claimed many valuable belongings washed ashore afterward. Most were sold to survive difficult years, only one necklace remained because he always believed its rightful owner would someday appear. Those words lingered in Seraphine's mind. A shipwreck, not an airplane. She suddenly wondered whether Rowan himself had ever owned the necklace before the fisherman acquired it. The pendant might have carried an even older story. Determined to uncover the truth, Seraphine hired independent investigators rather than relying upon the old official case files. Weeks passed beneath clear daytime skies as forgotten archives, shipping records, insurance claims, and hospital documents slowly revealed pieces of a puzzle nobody had assembled before. Then came the breakthrough. Years before Seraphine had ever met Rowan, he had spent several months volunteering after a devastating coastal hurricane. During those relief efforts, he had befriended an aging fisherman whose small boat had been destroyed. Rowan had quietly given the man his treasured necklace as payment after secretly purchasing him a replacement vessel. The fisherman had never accepted charity, so Rowan disguised his generosity as gratitude. Suddenly everything fit. The fisherman later passed the necklace to Merrick. The necklace had never disappeared after Rowan's death because Rowan himself had willingly given it away many years earlier. Seraphine felt embarrassed for assuming Merrick might somehow be connected to her husband's disappearance. She visited him immediately to apologize. Merrick smiled gently and assured her there had never been anything to forgive, but the investigators were not finished. While examining Rowan's financial history, they discovered something extraordinary. Months before the supposed plane crash, Rowan had transferred millions of dollars into anonymous trusts supporting orphanages, veterans, and hospitals across several countries. None of those donations carried his name. He had wanted absolutely no recognition. Even more surprising, one investigator uncovered an unreleased interview recorded only days before Rowan's final flight. In it, Rowan admitted fearing corruption inside his own company, that he suspected trusted executives were manipulating contracts and exploiting disaster relief funds, that he planned to expose everything personally. The plane crash investigation had effectively buried those allegations forever. Seraphine's world shifted once again. The man she had mourned had spent his final days trying to protect strangers rather than protecting his own fortune. She quietly reopened internal audits across every branch of her corporation. The investigation uncovered years of fraud hidden beneath layers of forged paperwork. Several executives had stolen enormous sums intended for charitable programs. Justice finally arrived, though much later than Rowan had hoped. The recovered money transformed communities instead of disappearing into private bank accounts. Throughout those difficult months, Seraphine found herself visiting Merrick and Noah more frequently. There was nothing romantic drawing them together at first. Instead, there existed something even rarer: peace. Merrick never treated Seraphine like a billionaire. He asked nothing from her. He admired expensive cars no more than old bicycles. He spoke proudly about repairing broken chairs because every repaired object represented one less burden for struggling families. Watching him patiently teach Noah how to sand rough wooden boards before painting them reminded Seraphine that true wealth often existed far from bank accounts. Inspired by Marek's quiet generosity, Seraphine transformed one of her unused corporate warehouses into a vocational center where single parents could learn carpentry, tailoring, electrical repair, cooking, and digital skills completely free of charge. Merrick became its first instructor. The program expanded beyond anyone's expectations. Parents who had once relied upon food donations eventually became business owners themselves. Children watched their mothers and fathers regain confidence instead of losing hope. Communities slowly changed because one ordinary carpenter believed broken things deserved another chance. One sunny afternoon nearly a year later, Seraphine stood beneath flowering trees outside the vocational center while dozens of graduates celebrated receiving their certificates. She noticed Noah running across the lawn carrying the old silver necklace. Instead of wearing it herself, the little girl carefully placed it inside a glass display case built at the entrance. Beside it rested a simple plaque. It explained that true kindness never belongs to one person alone. It travels from heart to heart until someone chooses to pass it forward. The necklace had connected a generous businessman, a grateful fisherman, a struggling single father, and a grieving widow who rediscovered hope through compassion rather than suspicion. Visitors often assumed the necklace's greatest value came from its silver. Those who knew the story understood differently. Its greatest value came from every act of kindness it inspired. Seraphine often Realize that discovering the necklace had not brought Rowan back. Instead, it brought his values back into the world. His greatest legacy had never been the company he built, that it had been the lives forever changed by quiet acts of generosity that expected nothing in return. If this story moved you, take a moment to reflect on the people whose small acts of kindness have shaped your own life. Sometimes the greatest gifts are the ones passed from one stranger to another without expecting recognition. Thank you for reading. Remember that hope often appears in the most unexpected places, and sometimes the smallest object can carry the biggest story.